John Schneider has one of the most ridiculous takes of all time. Get the pitchforks out, ladies and gentlemen. Get them out.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Blue Jays is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Do you know that it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and get help from a team of licensed tax professionals. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. Okay, I'm gonna do our little intro before I lose my mind. I'm Braden Uwasco. He's Carter First. Find us on Twitter, Braden5Uwasco, Carter First 2 as well on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. Drop a subscription if you're new here on YouTube, and if you're listening everywhere else, we really appreciate it. Okay, intro's out of the way, Carter. I don't know if you want to read it or or you want me to read it. I'm going to throw it to you, let you read it.
Yeah, I'll get into it. We were going to talk about just how bad this Toronto Blue Jays team is, and we're definitely still going to talk about that. But after this Blue Jays game, obviously the Blue Jays get swept by the Boston Red Sox. It's just terrible, terrible baseball all around. But I left the house. I'm like, okay, I need a couple hours here just to digress, just get my thoughts in order. Probably not completely go off on this podcast. But then this article comes out from The Score just as we're starting to record this podcast. And I'll just read the title and I'll get into it. But this is what we see. The first notification I see on my phone. Blue Jays Schneider. So this is a John Schneider quote. Springer's on the verge of getting hot. I don't know what this guy is watching, but I'm just gonna get into the quotes here. So Toronto Blue Jays manager John Schneider remains confident in veteran outfielder George Springer despite a frigid first few months at the plate. And this is directly quotes from John Schneider. He's probably a couple days away from getting hot, Schneider said, according to MLB.com's Keegan Matheson. That's just how good he is. Has it happened? No, it hasn't happened consistently. There will be times that we try to guard him or guard other guys, but at the end of the day, I'm not nearly at the point of saying you're going to play 3 days a week. George is George. We have confidence he's going to get it going. I'm just going to throw it back to you. Just first emotions, first feelings after you read that article.
Okay. This guy's lost. John Schneider is absolutely lost. I'm at the point of brain rot. That's where I'm at. I can't. I have no words. I'm trying to come up with something to say without getting too ridiculous. That we can't do on this podcast. This guy is completely lost. He has no clue what's going on. I don't know. I'm sorry. At some point, figure it out. This guy is George Springer is terrible. He's terrible. And John Schneider saying all this is complete crap. And I know what some people are going to say is no manager is going to go out of their way and put down their players. I agree. But saying on the verge they're getting hot after the season that Springer's had, and if you have eyes in your skull, you know that George Springer's nowhere near to getting hot. Justin Turner, maybe. He's looked good the past couple games. This series, he has looked good. George Springer's at the depths of hell right now. Frozen over hell, Carter. That's where he is.
I don't know what he's looking at. George Springer had a double today, but he also had 3 Ks and some of the worst at-bats I've seen. What do you mean by George Springer's getting hot? The one home run that he happens to hit in a blue moon. He has 5 home runs on the year. He's supposed to be getting hot. Over his last 15 games, he's hitting 163. Over his last 7, he's hitting 143. What do you mean by getting hot? What is getting hot, hitting over 200 to John Schneider? Is that hot for the Toronto Blue Jays? I know this offense is bad, but are we getting accustomed to that being good for this team? George Springer should barely be playing 3 days a week at this point. The fact that he shouldn't be playing nearly that, he should not be an everyday player. It's the most obvious thing of all time. When you have a Blue Jays offense that I always say is mediocre, I think that's honestly giving them too much props at this point. It's not even mediocre. This offense sucks. It simply sucks after what we watched this entire series, of what we watched this entire baseball season. The fact that John Schneider said this, especially after getting swept by the Boston Red Sox, you would think there'd be some sort of media training here. The fans are already pissed off at this. And then he goes out and says this. Like, how are you supposed, like, he's already in hot water with Toronto Blue Jays fans. It's just going to look even worse for John Schneider. We've never defended this guy, and I'm not going to, because these quotes are absolutely ridiculous. That's just like conspiracy theories here. It kind of confirms to me that John Schneider's more worried about eating double bubble and spits in the dugout rather than actually watching the baseball game, because George Springer is nowhere close to being hot. And that perfectly explains the pinch hitting situation, why he pinch hit George Springer in the 8th inning. Because for some reason, I don't know if it's him getting this analysis or he's getting something's in his ear, but George Springer apparently in his eyes is getting hot, which is just simply not the case. That's all I can really say about it. It's just, that was the most incorrect thing that he maybe has said this entire season.
This is absolute incompetence. At some points, I think, okay, maybe we're getting too ridiculous to John Schneider, and then something like this happens. And as fans of the Blue Jays, I'm blown away. Like, I honestly, we're sitting here about to hit record, and this comes out. This is honest to God reaction, because 2 seconds before we hit record, we just read this. Unbelievable, Carter. There's no excuse. I'm done. This team is bad. This offense is terrible. John Schneider obviously has zero clue what's going on. I don't know what Ross Atkins is doing. This just puts me at the point of, this team is done. They have zero direction. Where do we go from here? Because this season's not going our way, and it's not going to. Not with quotes like this.
Yeah, this team is just absolutely lost. I've never felt worse about the Toronto Blue Jays. Honestly, this team in like the last 5 years, this might be my actual low, especially, you're getting quotes like this. You're getting terrible defense for a team that's supposed to be good defensively. Your offense can't score runs. Your bullpen is just horrendous. I get there's injuries, depleted, whatever. You get swept by the Boston Red Sox. Boston Red Sox just look like the Los Angeles Dodgers in this series. Brian Bayo will get into that later, but it's, oh my God, I don't know where to go from here. Like, I really don't. Like, no direction is the best way to say it, because you can't even really say the team's mediocre. The record is mediocre, I guess you could say. I guess you could say, if things were going a little bit better, maybe the Jays were on a winning streak, you could say this team still has a chance to make the playoffs, but you have incompetent managing, a terrible offense, a bullpen that can't get a zero to save their lives, and then a starting pitching staff that's just going to be overworked and has pressure, just immense pressure on top of them. They can't do anything wrong, because you lose the baseball game if you give up more than 2 runs. It's absolutely insane. I don't know. Like you said, I'm completely lost for words at this point. I don't know what else to say other than this team. It's just like, has no direction, and they're not a team with no direction is not going to make the playoffs. And even if they do make the playoffs, they're going to get swept again anyway. So there's no point of even doing that. I don't know if they sell at the deadline. I don't know if you hold at the deadline, because this, like, this is what I'll say. You pull up Elvis Martinez and you don't play him in 2 games. Like, there's no point. Nothing makes sense on this team. And it seems like it's fairly obvious what this team should do. And the management, John Schneider, whoever it is, just lacks direction and does not want to put this team in a spot to have success.
Carter, people always ask me and you, or call us armchair managers, whatever you want to say. We've gotten a couple comments like that. Oh, could you do better than John Schneider? Honest to God, hand on the Bible, gun to my head. Yes, I believe that if I picked up a random baseball fan off the street, that they could do better than John Schneider right now. This has made me so angry. I don't know where to go. And I don't, honest to God, believe that John Schneider will be with the Toronto Blue Jays after this season. If he is, bury me in a grave 6 feet deep, please.
Well, there obviously needs to be changes. This team has, like, it's been a terrible offense this entire season. Nothing's changed there. You need bullpen arms. You're not making any moves to get bullpen arms. You're signing minor league deals that aren't really going to matter for this team. It gives me such a headache, man. It really does. It's so frustrating to watch this team. Our friends say it all the time, just a terrible year to start the podcast. And in terms of Blue Jays baseball, yeah, it's not great. I mean, we're kind of putting ourselves through torture for this entire season. And yeah, like, John Schneider should not be here right now. I'll flat out say it. I was kind of on the fence about John Schneider before a little bit. I was more so leaning towards him being fired. But after this series, like, you gotta change something, whether it's Ross Atkins being gone, John Schneider. This team was 8th in payroll in baseball, supposed to be at least a playoff contender for sure. Was supposed to compete for the AL East, had very good odds to make the World Series, was top 10 in that department. now they shouldn't even be top 20. There's nothing here. There's nothing to get excited about other than these young stars. And you look at John Schneider, Ernie Clement is on the loose. You're not playing Ernie Clement. You pull up your number 2 prospect. You're not playing Aurelvis Martinez. Who do you have instead? George Springer, who's about to get hot in terms of John Schneider, and Kevin Kiermaier. I love the guy, but he's having some of the worst at-bats my eyes have ever seen. Like, he struck out to Brian Bayo today on 3 pitches that it looked like he was golfing. It looked like he was actually playing a different sport in this at-bat. It's not like it's very obvious. It's the most obvious thing of all time. You have problems on this team, and they're just not being addressed. So the fact that Rogers has the ability to just kind of put whatever they want on the field because Blue Jays fans are so loyal it's a problem. Like, I'm not a big guy on conspiracy theories, but let's maybe just boycott the Rogers Center, boycott the Toronto Blue Jays. Don't show up to games until they make some changes, because this is getting ridiculous. It's making my head hurt, and it is impacting my mental health, because my mental health solely relies on this Blue Jays team at least just being okay and having a pulse on the baseball field.
Carter, my biggest problem is that when you see things aren't going your way, and yet still there's no change. 2 years of the same thing. And I don't know. I just don't know anyone's thought process right now. I'm floored. I don't know what to say. I mean, we sit here and we talk about this team every day, and we try to find the good aspects, and don't get me wrong, we hammer the bad ones. I have nothing good to say. And we're about to talk about this game 3 here that completed the sweep. And again, I don't have anything good to say. And I know we're going to talk about it. We're going to have to talk about it. And then you created a little segment that we'll get into in the third one here.
I don't even know if we're going to have time for that, to be honest, because we have this George Springer article now. Didn't really plan for that. Like, we were literally about to press record. I was just getting my notes together. And then I said something I can't say on this podcast. There's no blank way. And then you said the same thing. Oh my God, there's no way this actually came out right now. And it just completely blew us away. You think you're down on the Toronto Blue Jays, and then they just hit you with an uppercut, and you're not even expecting it whatsoever. It's insane, man. I've never had this feeling in any sport ever. I feel like I'm a Panthers fan, and this is worse than Panthers football. Like, it's absolutely insane. I don't think I've ever would say that in my life with the direction the Panthers are going right now. But that's the thing with the Carolina Panthers. I'm not going to talk too much about them, but they actually have a direction right now. They are rebuilding. They're committing to a rebuild. The Toronto Blue Jays are committing to being awful, to stinking. They're playing terrible baseball, and that's simply what it is. And now we have a game to go over where there's not a lot of positives either. I mean, this whole Brian Bayo looks like the next coming of Cy Young, Doc Holliday, Tim Lincecum, whoever you want to say. It's just like the Blue Jays offense makes everyone look like that. But saying that, I guess we'll get into this baseball game in the third game of the Boston Red Sox series coming up here. Here on Locked On Blue Jays, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team. Whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs, it's really year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season that you need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in the episode description below.
Today's episode is brought to you by Policy Genius. A lot of life is unpredictable, but a good life insurance plan gives your family a financial safety net to protect against some of the unknowns. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It makes choosing the right policy for your family easy and quick. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. As I've always told you guys, when this ad comes up, it's never too early to start looking at some of these things. I know, with my family, we've had these conversations, and I think that's something that's important to do. And so checking out Policy Genius is a great option. Get peace of mind by finding the right life insurance with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com. Carter, just before we go any further, I had one more thing to say, and it almost feels like, when you wake up on a Saturday and you have a round of golf to go play with the boys, you're going to have a couple beers, you're going to go out, and then you get there and your buddy forgot the bag of beers. You get through the round and you end up shooting 120 and you think, Jesus, what a terrible day. And then your plans get canceled for later and you're walking off the course. This Blue Jay season feels like all of that has happened, and then you also get run over by a golf cart at the same time. It is just pain after pain after pain. You think it can't get any worse, and John Schneider puts something like a quote like this out. It's disgusting. I just think this is an absolute slap in the face to fans. If fans weren't already sitting there with a pitchfork in hand, ready to storm Rogers, I can't see how they're not now. I'm about to put out a tweet on this article because I'm just that blown away. And some people say that maybe we overreact too much and we're, whatever, too over the top. What's your reaction to that? And honestly, I'm going to ask everybody listening and watching to this podcast, what is your honest to God reaction about this? If it's not like ours, I'm at the point where I just don't know if you're a Blue Jays fan or you just watch casually. Because this is the most insane thing I've ever seen. Yeah, but I want to leave it. You know what, Carter? Yeah, go for it. I got to just take a second here.
Yeah, maybe if you're in on George Springer right now, then maybe you're just living in the years 2021, 2022, 2023. Maybe you're living in the Houston Astros cheating years for George Springer. But watching Toronto Blue Jays baseball, this is, I think, the best way to describe it for me. So it's saying, like, say your buddy has like this hot girlfriend. He's like, hey, let's go on a double date here. So you're getting excited. You're like, oh, you're assuming she's going to be looking good or whatever. And then you get there and she's an absolute ogre and you just get completely let down and you just feel horrible about the whole experience. That's Toronto Blue Jays baseball. I always for some reason, I get excited about every single game thinking something is going to change. Something's going to get better. And then I am disappointed, let down, and everything just feels terrible. And it sucks. Like, it simply sucks. And we have to go through this 162 times. You don't have to go through a bad date 162 times in a year. You maybe get one or two of those, whatever it is. But we just continue to put ourselves through the grinder, through the blender every single day looking at this team. Like, just going into today, like, it's just, I don't know why I expect anything different. In the first inning, you get runners on first and second, no outs. You don't score. In the fourth inning, you have I know Kevin Kiermaier drives in a run there, whatever. In the fourth thing, you have bases loaded, no outs. You score one run off a Justin Turner double play. Like, good teams score runs in these situations. Seventh inning, you have runners on first and second, no outs. And you only score because there's a wild pitch. You didn't do anything to earn that run. You got lucky off of a wild pitch. Like, the offense, when you look at it from a broad perspective, you don't watch the game. You think the offense scored 3 runs, but you look how they scored the 3 runs. It's just not good enough, especially against Brian Bayo. I've never seen a team so often miss middle pitches, lay off middle pitches, not do damage off middle pitches. It is absolutely insane how they can't do damage on pitches that are right down the middle. I don't care how fast they are. You're in the MLB. You should be able to hit a middle fastball. You look at the Boston Red Sox. I think it was to Duran. Kevin Gausman throws a splitter that is right down the middle. And he absolutely kills the baseball. That's what good baseball players do. They actually hit mistakes. And the Blue Jays just don't do it ever. And it's so hard to watch because I almost feel like I can hit the ball better. A little leaguer could, my grandma could, whoever it is. This offense just hurts my head.
Well, Carter, I'm looking at the stats here today. And I mean, each team got 10 hits. But the hits that they got were very different. Look how the game started off. Horwitz puts a ball in play, or no, maybe it wasn't Horwitz, but one of Horwitz's hits was a ground ball that was just misplayed. Like, there was a lot of those today. Yeah, and I mean, they're not charged an error on that, which, okay, whatever, give Horwitz the hit. But, like, how many times have we even go through games getting such weak contact hits? And actually, we almost got away with one again, but in the 9th inning there. But what's the pitcher that they brought in the final inning? Martin?
I believe it was Martin. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was honestly at that point barely paying attention to the game because I knew what the game was at that point. Like I was, thank God we have an off day tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say. I don't think I can mentally go through a Blue Jays game right now.
No, so whatever. He makes some sort of falling backwards barehanded grab, but even if that ball gets through and is a hit, great, but it's still one of the worst hits I've ever seen in my life. I don't know. Like I'm looking at these stats and I'm trying to find, okay, what's a positive here? What's a positive? Horowitz 2 for 4, great, but we still got beat, and one of his hits were complete BS. Justin Turner, actually a pretty good day from him. I think he's picking up a little bit of traction. Vlad 1 for 4, Varsho 0 for 4, Danny 0 for 4, Springer 1 for 4, great for him. Barger 2 for 4, actually another decent day for him.
Yeah, good at bats today.
Yeah, very good at bats. IKF 1 for 3, Kiermaier 1 for 4. I don't care. I'm honestly at the point where I don't even want to read you guys some statistics because it's just depressing. It doesn't matter. None of these stats matter if you don't win baseball games. And you get swept by the Boston Red Sox in one of maybe the most important series of the year. If you were able to win this series, maybe, you get back-to-back series wins against good teams and you just don't even put up a fight, dude. Like,
well,
I don't know.
You're at 500 if you win this series, and now you're 4 games below 500. And I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on like this hits thing where like the Blue Jays are getting bad hits. I don't care how you get on base. If you get on base, you get on base. My thing is this team went 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position. Like you can't win baseball games going 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position. And it's been a problem this entire season. You got to get hits in the big spots. I don't care if you get a 2-out single. That's not moving the needle for me whatsoever. You got to get hits when you have runners in scoring position. You got to be able to drive the ball in big situations like every other good baseball team does. And I mean, I think I've said this on the podcast. If I haven't said it on the podcast, I've been thinking about it for a very long time. Clearly, this Toronto Blue Jays team is just not a good baseball team. It's as simple as that. And if that's news to you, I'm sorry that I had to ruin your hopes and dreams. But if you've been watching the Toronto Blue Jays, clearly this team is not a good baseball team. So I guess this just leaves us the question. I mean, okay, I'll take a step back here. The starting pitching's good. I don't care. Kevin Gausman had a little bit of a rough day. I don't know. I'm not worried about Kevin Gausman at all. When you look at this bullpen, you look at the offense. But where do you go from here? Do you make a trade? Do you just you can't play George Springer, but clearly he's going to be playing every single game. And that's why it makes it so hard for me to fathom watching another 90 games of baseball, because I know George Springer is going to have the exact same at-bats he's been having this entire season. Maybe it does get a little bit better, but at this point, I mean, I'm not going to be able to get George Springer 0-2 completely just swinging through a middle fastball out of my head unless he goes on a Botember stretch. And then you look at Justin Turner, he's been a little bit better. Also, there's so many players on this team that are hitting like 210. It's just tough to watch, man. Vladdy just doesn't hit home runs anymore. Again, that's kind of a ricochet shot at Vlad, but I'm just mad about the Toronto Blue Jays. I feel like that's a very valid feeling to have after watching this atrocious series against the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, nothing's changed. If anything, it's gotten worse. I mean, yeah, we get excited about a Blue Jays win, and we will always do that because we're still Blue Jays fans. We want them to win baseball games. I know some people are going to be asking us like, oh, well, you guys were so pumped about the Guardians series win. It's like, yeah, well, we're still really big fans of this team, obviously. But if we look back as an overall, Carter, this season has been just terrible. And yeah, you're right. 4 games behind 500. We could go on a winning streak and be right back into a playoff position. Definitely. It's possible. But if we're being realistic, is that somewhere where you think this team can get to? Not me.
I mean, that Cleveland Guardians series might as well have not happened when you just lose 3 straight to the Boston Red Sox. You look at the 6-game homestand, you're 2-4. You take a step forward and then you don't even take 2 steps backwards. You take a million steps backwards. That's what it feels like. It's just insanity that we just continue to watch the same product on the field. And then John Schneider and Ross Atkins come out and pretty much say, oh, everything's going to be okay. It's just going to take some time. It's halfway through the season. Are we supposed to just watch terrible baseball this entire season? We might as well just be Buffalo Bisons fans, watch AAA. But the problem with that is now the Blue Jays are taking every single player from this AAA roster, and they're not even playing half of them. Ernie Clement, who's been on the loose, is not playing every day. Addison Barger goes 2 for 4, has been absolutely raking since he's been back up. I think he's almost hitting 400 at this point. He doesn't play every day. Aurelio Martinez has been up for 2 days, Instead, you're playing Kevin Kiermaier, who, again, he's not even playing good defense now. He had an error today again. So it sucks. Like, I know I've said it sucks a million times, but again, there's a million other words that I would like to use to describe this team right now that I can't use, obviously, on air. And I'm sure that every other fan is also using some of these words as well, because there can't be a lot of positives when you're talking about the Toronto Blue Jays right now. It's just as simple as that.
No, Carter. Honestly, I know I keep going back to this John Schneider interview, but I mean, I'm blown away. It sort of feels like it's just participation trophies right now to everybody. It's like, hey, you're not playing well, but hey, you're still a part of this team. We still love you. What are we doing? Like, honest to God, like, what is going on here? I'm in shock. I'm blown away. And Carter, you know what? I want to hit your little segment here that you made, because I think it'll give me a chance to do a little bit of reflection, I think, as this team as a whole. So I think let's do that in segment 3 here. But let's take a quick break so we can both maybe get into cooler heads. But yes, I will send it to you for the.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure you remembered. Locked On 24/7 streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today, Amazon Fire TV's channel app. You probably don't want to watch Blue Jays baseball right now. It's totally fair. So at least get your mind off of something. Go get expert analysis from a different league, whether it's the NBA, NHL, NFL. There's fantasy drafts going on, off-season stuff, free agency still obviously happening as well. WNBA, whatever it is, whatever sports content you want to digest, perfect opportunity to go over there and take your mind off of Toronto Blue Jays baseball, because I know I need it. I'm not going to be thinking about it at all tomorrow until our podcast. Just take a mental day, just kind of reset, and then just get mad at the Toronto Blue Jays when they go to Cleveland on Friday. But yeah, we'll head into the segment that I want to get into coming up after this short break.
Today's episode brought to you by Stitch Fix. People always say, they go like, oh, what do you like to wear? What's like your wardrobe look like? And it's 99% jerseys. I think I have about 35 right now, so I could use some help. You know what that gives you? You know what gives you an instant confidence boost is an outfit that looks really good. That's what I get with Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. Just give my stylist my size, style, budget, preferences. I order boxes and when I want and how I want, no subscription required. And they send 5 just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and pro styling advice. I keep what works and send the rest back. Styles that make you feel as good as you look. Now's the best time to get started at stitchfix.com/MLB and get $100 off. That's $25 off your first 4 fixes for a limited time only. That's stitchfix.com/MLB. For $100 off, stitchfix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign up. Offer does not include kids fixes. All right, Carter. What's your segment here?
Okay, so pretty much my segment is, obviously there's not a lot of players on the Toronto Blue Jays that I enjoy watching right now. But say for next year, this Toronto Blue Jays, you're the manager, Braden. You get a complete reset. It's just going to be solely your segment. I'm not really going to put too much input on this. I'm just going to be the interviewer, I guess you could say. So I'm going to go over names, and you're just going to say if you want them on next year's baseball club. We're going to leave it as simple as that. So we're going to start with the pitchers. The starting pitchers, albeit. So this might be a little bit of an easier segment as we get farther along. It's going to be more debates, more topics to discuss here. But I'm going to start with Chris Bassitt. Do you want him on your 2025 baseball team?
Yeah. Yeah, give me Chris Bassitt. Yeah, I want him.
Jose Barrios.
Yeah, absolutely. I want him. 100%.
Kevin Gausman.
Yep. Want him too.
Yusei Kikuchi.
That one's a little tougher. I would say that depends on the contract, how long he wants, how much money. I feel like there's other guys out there, but for right now, he's a steal. If it was the same contract, yes.
Okay, I'll throw you a scenario out here. 3 years, $18 million a year.
Oof. That's a tough one. I'm gonna say no because of who we have in the pipeline.
Interesting. So that takes me to Alek Manoah.
Yes.
Yariel Rodriguez.
Yes.
And then Bowden Francis.
Yes. As in a bullpen role.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna go. These guys are injured, obviously, but you gotta assume that they're healthy for 2025. We'll start with Jordan Romano.
Yes.
Yimi Garcia.
Yes.
Chad Green.
Yes.
Eric Swanson.
As of right now, not so much, but I think overly, yes. I think he bounces back.
All right. Ryan Burr.
No, not really.
Henny Cabrera.
Absolutely not.
Brendan Little.
Haven't seen enough of him. I'll say maybe.
Trevor Richards.
Yeah. Give me the Silver Fox.
Your favorite player, Tim Meetza.
Nope. Send him to the moon.
Zach Pop.
Zach Pop. Yeah, he can stay around. Sure.
Okay, and then that leaves Nate Pearson.
Yes.
Okay, so you actually said a fair amount of yeses for this pitching staff. You didn't say yes to Kikuchi, which I was surprised about.
I love Kikuchi. I do. I just don't think it's realistic to assume that he's back next year. So would I want him back? Yes. Do I think he will be back? Absolutely not.
I think, yeah, you might have maxed your reliever options actually there as well. I think you actually got 8 there. Leave a comment. We weren't keeping track. Probably should have been. But leave a comment if we have enough pitching staff. I know for your starters, you had with Alec Manoah, you said yes. So you would have 5 there. That'd be perfect. And the bullpen's got to be close. But let's get into some of the position players. So we're going to start catchers and then go to infielders, outfielders. So we'll start with Jano.
Yeah.
Alejandro Kirk.
Nope. I'm sorry. Yeah, no.
So you got one catcher there. Ernie Clement.
Yes.
Vladdy.
Yep. It's tough because I just don't think that you're going to get anything in return for him if you decide to do a trade. And I think you lose whatever that is. So I think you have to keep him.
That's fair. I think Vladdy's definitely done enough to earn a spot. It really depends on the contract. I think that's going to be a huge problem for the Toronto Blue Jays is that Vladdy's going to want a ton of money and the Blue Jays probably aren't going to want to pay him that huge money, especially for a first baseman that's just not really hitting for power at this point. That's going to take me into Spencer Horwitz. You know I'm horny for Horwitz, but I'll give it back to you for that one.
Yep, keep Horwitz. I like him too.
IKF.
He's done enough. I really can't put anything that IKF. He's exactly the guy that you knew you were going to get. But no, to be honest, I think there's other guys that can play.
Okay.
That I would rather give playing time to right now. I think he's great. I really have no problem with IKF. He's getting older. There's not a ton of upside. So I'm going to say no.
Bo Bichette.
That's one guy that I think if you traded, you could get more from.
So you're saying trade. You don't want to just get rid of him. You just want to trade him, get some other prospects.
Yeah, or something. I think that, again, there's other guys that if you're looking at a season now, I think they can do it. The problem is you look at last season and you want that Bo Bichette back. So as of right now, I would say, I don't know. I think you have to bring him back. But if there's a trade option, then a trade option possibly.
And then Orelvis Martinez.
Hard to say. Maybe not major league roster right now, to be honest.
Okay, so I'm just going to say that as a no. And then Justin Turner.
No.
Okay, that takes us into some of our outfielders. They have Addison Barger as an outfielder. We'll keep him there.
Yeah, again, he's one of those guys that I think could flip-flop between AAA and the main squad. It sort of depends. If we're talking main squad all season.
Yeah, we'll say that for this.
I'm going to say probably not right now.
And then I don't even know why I'm asking this, but David Schneider.
Yes.
Kevin Kiermaier.
No.
Dalton Varsho.
Yes.
And that leaves me with our boy, George Springer.
Yeah. No. Take him to the moon. That terrible contract for what he's given us, to be honest with you. I don't want to see George Springer at all. Never mind what, like John Schneider was saying, well, we can't just play him 3 days a week. I don't even want to see him 3 days a week. I would be okay not seeing him at all.
All right, so you gave us 6 position players. I went back and added up. You gave us actually a perfect 8 bullpen arms, and we have 5 starting pitchers. So obviously that kind of just says what it needs to be said about the offense. You got 6 players out of a total of I gave you 13 options. So you took less than half of the position players available. The bullpen is a lot better when we have players healthy. Obviously, Jordan Romano, Yimi Garcia, and Eric Swanson. I don't know what happened to Eric Swanson. I love the guy. I still love the guy. I would also keep him on the team. But right now, just the way he's pitching, at the caliber he's pitching, you can't have him on the major league team. Yeah. He's not even pitching well in AAA. I hope he has an Alek Manoah sort of stint, maybe a Yusei Kikuchi sort of stint. Pete Walker has shown that he can turn pitchers around. Jose Barrios in 2022. Alek Manoah was looking a little bit better this season. Yusei Kikuchi, a huge turnaround. So I don't think it's time yet to give up on Eric Swanson. I think this team has a lot of other problems. Just for fun, you know what? I'll throw this out there. I'll give you 3 more options. So I'm going to start with John Schneider.
No.
And then I'll give you 4 here. So Ross Atkins will be the next one.
Nope.
Mark Shapiro.
We'll see what happens after this year. See what he decides to do.
And then I'll give you Pete Walker.
Oh God. Yeah, I like Pete. Keep Pete around.
I think you got to keep Pete. I would just send the other 3 to the moon, Mars, whether you want it to be Pluto, Australia. I don't care. North Korea, maybe. Like, you might have a fun time over there. But yeah, just definitely nowhere near this Toronto Blue Jays team. Yeah, I just thought that'd be a fun exercise, just kind of see where your head was at for the team. If you guys were hopefully following, you can go back if you want, play along. Who would you want to see on this Blue Jays team for next season? I'm actually surprised you gave the pitching staff that much credit. I thought for bullpen arms, you maybe would only have 5, but you end up getting to 8. So.
Well, and to be honest with you, probably going back through there might be a couple guys that I would let go and try to pick up some guys off the waiver, off of free agency, make a trade for. Because I don't necessarily think that, we need another lefty in there. So I don't know. There's a lot that probably I would look at more strategically if I was actually running this team. And I would have to let some of those guys go. And obviously some of them would be playing in AAA. Some of the guys that I kept would probably be playing AAA. Some of them that I didn't decide to keep, I would probably have playing in AAA as well. So it's a give and take. There's just a lot of not like potential not reached right now. Because I think there's an image of what this team is in all of our heads. I think some of the players you think like, God, are we going to get somebody better than that guy? And that's the hard part is it's the inconsistency of this team that just really drags it down.
Yeah, but you just taking a look at the AL East from a broad perspective, the Jays definitely are not better than New York Yankees. I know Aaron Judge got hit in the hand. Mookie Betts out for 6 to 8 weeks. That's tough as well. But the Yankees just simply a better baseball team. They have Garrett Cole pitching today. I'm wondering how he did. I'm going to check that as I throw it back to you. The Baltimore Orioles it's not even close. Don't even compete. Apparently, we don't compete with the Boston Red Sox either. So you can debate with the Tampa Bay Rays, but they're going to get a bunch of pitching back. Drew Rasmussen, Shane McClanahan, a ton of guys that will make this Tampa Bay Rays team better. I don't think it's crazy to say that this Toronto Blue Jays team might be the worst team in the AL East, and the record obviously shows it. But just wanted to say thank you guys for watching. The likes, comments, subscribers, especially with this Toronto Blue Jays team being so horrendous. It is definitely appreciated. It's definitely a nice feeling to know that we're not the only ones putting ourselves through this torture of Toronto Blue Jays season. We always like engaging with debates, the random perspectives, whether it's good, mostly bad, obviously, because that's how the Toronto Blue Jays are playing. But we like to know how you guys are feeling about this team as well, whether you guys watch every single day the Toronto Blue Jays, whether it's kind of a casual thing, or whether you don't watch it all at this point. Because at that point, I could, for the way the Toronto Blue Jays are playing, I cannot blame anyone that's just given up on this team at this point. There are some positives. It is fun to watch these young guys play baseball, but John Schneider's not even playing these guys half the time. So that's the biggest problem that I have. But the sport's been crazy. I think it's about 70% of you guys are not subscribed. So if you guys are watching the videos coming back every single day, drop a subscription. Helps you keep our videos at the top of your page, and just so you don't miss any of our podcasts, shorts, TikToks, reels, tweets, whatever it is. Thank God we got an off day. We got slow pitch tomorrow. That's a cool thing, I guess. So we can hopefully get back in the win column there. Hopefully it shouldn't get rained out for once, actually. So we actually should be able to play baseball and hopefully play some better baseball. Because I think after what I saw in this last game of the Blue Jays Red Sox series, I think we could actually play better defense than Toronto Blue Jays did today.
Yeah, it's debatable. I'm pretty pumped for slow pitch too. This is my first game of men's that I'll be at, and I heard we got absolutely smoked last week. So I don't know who we play, but hopefully we can come out with a bit of better performance. And you know what? Maybe we're just on the Jays level. We just can't hit the baseball either. So I don't know, Carter. I'm going to be excited for tomorrow's episode. I think we just take our mind a little bit off of the gameplay and just go into, just talking about it. We don't have to necessarily sit down and watch a game and then get all fired up and then have to come on here. But like Carter said, really appreciate all you guys watching. Carter, that's about all I got today.
Yeah, I think we send it off there. We go into the off day. Maybe we can actually win the off day, but knowing the Toronto Blue Jays will probably lose the off day as well and make it 0 for 4 in the last 4 days. But we'll talk to you guys tomorrow about, we'll get into the Cleveland Guardians series and some other cool topics that we haven't really talked about yet on this podcast. So yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow.